Hello, how are you doing? Fantastic, excellent. You should already know who I am. My name is Profe Kyle. I am Latin America's favorite English teacher. And yes, I'm speaking English right now. For me, it's a good opportunity to help you increase your English vocabulary and improve your English listening. If you don't know, there should be subtitles down below, so if you want some help in Spanish or English, then click on the subtitles, please. And in today's video, I'm going to be telling you about my experience so far here in Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina. So if you don't know, I arrived here about a month ago. Yeah, more or less about 1 month ago. And this isn't my first time here. This is actually my second time here. Probably, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I came to Buenos Aires before about maybe 3 years ago, or is it, no, 2 years ago. 2 years ago I was here in Buenos Aires. Well, and in Argentina in general, and I like the country. Now, of course, things have changed in the past 2 years, if you haven't noticed. And of course, when I was here in Buenos Aires the first time, I was here in October. It was rainy, a little bit depressing. The Argentinian girls definitely had no short shorts on. And I didn't really see that many. And just, yeah, the city was very gray and depressing. Everybody seemed depressed and sad. But now I'm here November, December. November is supposedly the best month of the year to come to Argentina and Buenos Aires specifically. And so now I'm going to give you my thoughts. What do I think? I have a more detailed perspective of the city. And let's start with the months. So last time I was here in October. Now I've been here November and December. And yes, November and December is a much better time to be in Buenos Aires. A lot more sun, a lot less rain, higher temperatures. Argentinian girls love their short shorts. What kind of man doesn't love short shorts? And yeah, what else do I gotta say? Just, it's much nicer in November and December. Now I should be here in January, which is, I think, officially the real summer of Argentina. Argentinians tell me it's very hot. I'm not too sure what their version of hot is. Obviously, if you're Argentinian, you can tell me below. Because I've been talking to some Venezuelans in Chile and some Chileans, and they say it's already 32 degrees Celsius in Chile. And I think I'm starting to realize that Argentinians can be very dramatic sometimes. So I'm not too sure if it actually gets hot or if Argentinians are being their usual dramatic self. We'll see. We'll see in January what the verdict is. Now, of course, when I'm talking about Argentinians being dramatic, one of my main points of reference for this is that constantly Argentinians are telling me that, well, I guess porteños, people from Buenos Aires, are telling me that it's very dangerous in the city. And I keep on walking around and I keep on being confused because I've lived in Colombia, I visited Peru and Ecuador, and I have many students who are from Venezuela. And I do not get any feeling of danger when I'm walking the streets of Buenos Aires. So if you're from Buenos Aires, let me explain to you. In a city like Bogota, for example, there are very few neighborhoods. Personally, I would say there's 0 neighborhoods in Bogota where you feel completely safe. That means you do not dare take your cell phone out at all. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. You never really feel safe in Bogota. And I'm guessing it's even worse in Venezuela, even though I've never been there. In Buenos Aires, obviously right now I'm in Recoleta. Argentinians or porteños will definitely tell me, well, you're in the rich, the wealthy part, the cheta part of Buenos Aires. Of course you feel safe. But let me repeat. In Bogota, probably Quito, Lima as well, you don't really ever feel safe. Like there's not a single neighborhood where you, like in Bogota, maybe the Calle 93 area. In Quito, maybe the Kennedy area. And in Lima, maybe the Miraflores area. But besides that, you really don't feel safe. In Buenos Aires, there is, most of the entire city feels pretty safe. So that would include Palermo, that would include Recoleta, that would include Belgrano. I've been to Villa Devoto, I've been to downtown. Maybe downtown feels a little bit shady, but even when I was there, I didn't feel as scared as I do in Colombian cities, for example. So I don't really like talking about this because for Argentinians, they seem very, very certain that Buenos Aires is a very dangerous city. People have told me, have I watched the news? And I say, yes. And the news here seems a lot better than in Colombia. And that just seems to make Argentinians even angrier. So I do believe a gringo like me needs to keep on following the Latino rules. That means no cell phones on the streets. Be careful when you're in public transport. What else? Yeah, obviously, don't wear any fancy jewelry or something like that. So I keep on following the Latino rules, but still, I don't really feel unsafe. Obviously, if you're porteño or from Argentina and you want to explain to me how it's dangerous, then yeah, I would love to know. I would love to know. Next thing I want to talk about food. If you go to Mexico, and if you're from Argentina, maybe you've been to Mexico. Argentinians like to go to Mexico City and the beaches. You might notice that there is an Argentinian parrilla grill on pretty much every street corner in Mexico. And I was in Mexico for a few months ago, and I was thinking, if I'm going to go to Buenos Aires, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to see tons of parrillas argentinas. And I must say, I think there are more Argentinian restaurants in Mexico City than there are Argentine restaurants in Buenos Aires. So I have found a few, which is good, and I have tried things like riñón, like chinchulín. What else have I tried? I've had the bife de chorizo. That was good. Yeah, I think those are the main three ones that I've tried. And yeah, the food, the classic Argentine meat has been very good. But I would say that for porteños, their diet mostly consists of milanesa, media luna, croissant, and coffee. That seems to be the basic diet for porteños is coffee, media luna, and milanesa. Because yeah, the parrillas here don't seem too common and not always too full. The cafes are the most popular thing in Buenos Aires. It's a very cafe culture. So if you're not from Buenos Aires and you want to know about the city, if you like coffee, you're gonna love the city. Because porteños, they love their coffee and they like spending hours talking at the cafes. And they also love their ice cream. Oh, and I guess another thing, I noticed this the first time I was in Argentina a few months ago. No, not a few months ago, sorry, 2 years ago. I tried dulce de leche, which Argentinians love, dulce de leche. And for me, it was very, very sweet. In Spanish, you would say empalagoso. It was a very, very sweet. I told some Argentinians this 2 years ago, and they didn't really seem to notice, care much about my comment, or they didn't seem shocked. They didn't really seem to comment about my comment. But now I've had a few Argentinian desserts, sweet things, and I think Argentinian desserts are some of the sweetest I've ever tried in the world. I do like sweet things, but I've tried the ice cream, I've tried the chocotorta, I've tried, yeah, dulce de leche, and all of them are really, really sweet. So I would almost prefer it if there was 1 tablespoon less sugar in Argentine desserts. But of course, this is their country, and it seems like Argentinians really like extremely sweet things. That's my observation. Yes. Now, when it comes to the city, what do I think about the city? Maybe you're wondering, what do I think about Buenos Aires? Caba. I don't know if they say Caba, but that's the abbreviation they use, CABA, for Ciudad Autónoma de Buenos Aires. And the city is beautiful. For me, it's a very beautiful city. Very beautiful city. The architecture is nice. One thing that I discovered is Buenos Aires has some of the fewest parks per capita in the world, or like for a big city in the world. And I was a bit surprised by this, but it does seem to be true. There does seem to be a lot of parks along the river coast. I don't know what's called in Spanish. I'm going to call it the river coast. There's quite a few parks there, but once you get into the real city, there are very few parks. And for me, I like being outdoors and in the greenery, so it can kind of feel, it can make you feel a bit claustrophobic. I'm from the country. I'm a country boy. So I think the city is beautiful. The architecture is very beautiful. At the same time, it's kind of sad that there's not more parks. So hopefully it'll be something that the politicians in the city work on in the future, because I think porteños, they deserve more parks. Because of course, Argentinians, you guys know, you love to drink mate in a park, hang out with your friends. Imagine if there were more places you could go to drink mate. I have the same dream as you. And this leads into the public transportation. The first time I was here, I was able to get a subte card, or a sube card, but I was never able to use it. And yeah, the last time too, the porteños said that the subte was very dangerous. And I still do believe that porteños are very over-dramatic about that. And I wanted to test it for myself. And I tested the subte, and it's nice. It's very good. And maybe more proof that it's, again, for me, it doesn't seem as dangerous. If you go to other Latin American cities, there are police and guards everywhere making sure that people don't get robbed, right? I've been in the subte many times now during my 1 month here in Buenos Aires. I have not seen any police or any security officials in the subte. So I don't know if that's just the politicians are stupid and they don't put any police and security guards in the subte. But for me, it seems like the reason there is no security guards, police in the subte is because it really isn't that dangerous. So I've been in the subte, many times, and I think my only complaint about the subte here is that the trains kind of have a random schedule. I've been down there a few times, and there'll be 2 trains that come the one direction, and then there'll be no trains that come the other direction. And you're just waiting and thinking, why were there 2 trains coming that direction, and there's no trains coming this direction? So I would say my only complaint about the subte, I like it, but the only complaint is that I really don't understand the train schedule. It's very intermittent, very sporadic, the train schedule in the subte. I've also tried the trains. The trains seem nice too, even though people have told me the trains are even more dangerous. But so far, I haven't had any problems in the trains. And one thing that I really like here, but I haven't tried it, is the Ecobici. One of my favorite things about Mexico City is the Ecobici. And it was incredibly easy to use. I was able to register online. My Metro card, which I use for the subway, could also be used for my Ecobici, which was really nice. My only complaint about Mexico City was the ciclovías, the bike lanes, weren't very nice. They're very bumpy. They weren't paved very well. So it was a very uncomfortable ride. But here, I've seen the bike lanes in Buenos Aires, and the bike lanes they look beautiful, they look nice. Unfortunately, the Buenos Aires bureaucracy must be really bad, because I've tried registering many times online to get my Ecobici plan. It's not a card, I believe it's just a cell phone application, but it hasn't worked. And I searched in a group of gringos living in Buenos Aires, and it seems that all gringos are having problems registering for Ecobici. The base problem seems to be that it doesn't accept your credit card information. And then the customer service is a chatbot, and the chatbot says that they're gonna send your message to a real person. But I did that about 3 weeks ago, and I never got an email, I never got a response. A few days ago, I decided to try talking to the chatbot again in the hope that I would be able to talk to a real person. And it worked. I talked to a real person, but they didn't really seem to be that intelligent. I told them that the problem is it's not accepting my credit card because it says that I haven't given it my province or state of my country, but there is no field to put in my country or state. And the person kept on saying, you need to put in your passport number in the registration. And I told them many times, I already passed that step. Now I'm in the credit card step. It's not working. So they kept on making me jump through hoops, and I already knew what the answer was. The application wasn't working. And after about an hour of back and forth trying different things, they finally realized that yes, the application wasn't working well. They told me that they would get in touch with me again, but based on the comments from other gringos, Yankees living here in Buenos Aires, it's very probable that I will never hear from them again, and I will not be able to use Ecobici even though I really want to. So good job on the bike lanes. They seem awesome, and hopefully one day I will be able to use them. And maybe the last thing, I think one thing that Argentinians ask me about is what I think about the prices. Because obviously there is, I don't know if it's hyperinflation yet. Maybe the Argentinians can tell me in the comments if it's hyperinflation or not. But definitely inflation. There's inflation in Argentina, without a doubt. And it affects Argentinians horribly. As many gringos would say, inflation is an unofficial tax. And I've talked to a few Argentinians about inflation, and yeah, it sucks. It sucks. I talked to one young man. I asked him like what happens with salaries, because obviously there's always inflation. Are they always adjusting salaries for the workers, or are they just getting paid less because of inflation? And he told me that as a young man, he got a job. He's making such and such pesos per month, and then a year later his salary was more or less cut in half because of inflation. So I think for many young people in Argentina, they're stuck just doing whatever it takes to make some money. In that young man's case, he was buying and selling vehicles, he was playing games online to earn cryptocurrency, and he was managing Airbnbs. So he was doing everything to make money. And so, as a gringo in Argentina, yes, I would say because of inflation, things are very cheap for me. The last time I was here, things didn't seem that cheap for me, even though Argentinians told me that it should be cheap. But it wasn't. After doing some research, it seems like during the Macri regime, the peso was a bit stronger. And now with this new Fernandez regime, the I guess customary Argentinian inflation has returned. And the last time I didn't have any idea about the blue dollar, and I definitely had no idea how to get the blue dollar. But now I realized how to get the blue dollar, and yes, for foreigners, for people with American dollars, yes, Argentina is incredibly cheap. I agree with that. I don't know. Like it's good for me. Obviously, it sucks for Argentinians, so I don't really want to get too excited about it. But yeah, obviously for me, it is nice to live in a place that isn't as expensive. So, positive, negative, and that's that. And that's all the comments I have for now about my time, my 1 month so far in Buenos Aires. If you have some advice for me because you're living in Argentina, or you're from Argentina, or you're Porteño, then yeah, go ahead. Tell me down below any advice you have. And hopefully, listening to me in English has helped you a little bit to improve. Remember, listening just a little bit every day, or a lot every day, is going to help you improve rapidly. And that's all I have for you right now. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next Simple English video. Goodbye.